y'all like that. Prove it. Nice jazz. If you will, join us in a moment of affirmative prayer as we get started. We bring you greetings if you're just watching online. Join us as well, right wherever you are, right in front of your TV screen or computer screen. Take a deep cleansing breath into the nose and out through the mouth. And if you will, in this affirmative space, visualize the 12 powers, the 12 disciplines, the 12 principles. Allow them to cycle through your mind from elimination to strength and to power. And if you need to, place your hand, one hand on the chest, the other hand on the stomach, on those power centers that we call James and John, the sons of thunder. Knowing that in this moment, your nervous system is regulating itself. In this moment, you are aligning with the principles of love and strength and zeal and imagination and elimination and all of the powers that we were presented and given by our spiritual ancestor, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. We are grateful that the presence of the living one is here and available with us. We are grateful that our good is not being withheld from us. And so as we tune within and we close the doors of the outer world and we tune into the theater of our own mind, we get into the imaginal realm and we imagine the good. We see not only this service going well, we know that all things that are happening on this week are happening together and working together for our good. We affirm that those who walk through the doors of this sanctuary in this building will find and receive that in which they need. We speak with our affirmative power. We speak prosperity. We speak an increase in consciousness because we know that we can have and receive that which we are conscious of. And so we lift up our eyes. We lift up our consciousness knowing that we will draw every circumstance, every person, every participant that is working together to bring about our highest good. We know that all things, again, are working together for our good. And so we allow the presence of the living one to be. We allow goodness to be. We allow grace to be. We allow healing and prosperity to be. And if you will, take another big cleansing breath. Say this with me when you are ready. And so it is. Amen. As we are outing these candles, know that the flame will never die in our hearts, but we allow this affirmative prayer to be and go forth and do its perfect work. Amen and amen.
Listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen. leading meditation. I think that was a meditation, wasn't it? So we're going to move from the heart song to the mind for a few minutes. So I think we're pretty grounded. Just continue to relax. Get comfortable in your chair. Some people like to sit lotus style in the chair. Some people may want to sit on the floor. That's okay. Just get comfortable and grounded. Take a couple of deep breaths. As we continue to take in this message of heart song. As we prepare to receive the following thoughts, let's remember that our subconscious mind only knows one person. We are it. So what we say matters. What we think matters. The power we give our words matter. The words we choose matter more than we can imagine. So I want all of us to take in this prayer personally. And I will pause periodically for some different thoughts. I am the principal creator in all creation. Hallowed is the name I am. I am the kingdom come. I am will be done. Give that some thought. I am will being done. What are you willing in your life right now that's being done? I am on earth even as I am in all kingdoms. I am this day giving life to all creation even as I am all creation giving life to me. Wow. Even as I am all creation giving life to me. If all creation is giving life to me, does that make a difference in how I treat myself and the people around me and the environment? I am this day releasing all doubt, even as I am all doubt releasing me. So what is it we've been doubting? Give that a name right now. I am all doubt releasing me. Now allow that doubt to release you. Maybe it's time for a deep breath as we release that doubt. I am the sovereign witness to my unfolding. Another way to say that is I am in control of my thoughts as my thoughts are creating action. I am the power and I am the glory from everlasting to everlasting. All this I am. The name I am is the name God shared with Moses on Mount Sinai. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. When we use I am statements, they are very powerful. Be sure that whatever follows is worth saying, is worth the energy you're giving the word. So give a thought to what you would like now in your life. And apply I am. You fill in the that. It may be as simple as I am joyous, or I am getting stronger. I am healed. And so it is.
Amen. In that same spirit, let's ride that wave, knowing that it is the presence of God, divine intelligence, divine beauty, great love, great joy, whatever name you call this presence. We know that it is. Sacred text says that God is and is a rewarder of they that diligently seek it. And so when we turn to sacred text and we apply it to our life, recognizing the isness of healing, meaning you don't have to add to or take away from it. It simply is. So ours to do is to plug into that frequency. And so I invite you in this space to plug into the frequency of healing, to plug into the frequency of joy. Take another deep breath, knowing that with the breath that you give, all of us breathing together, one sound, one voice, one frequency, we're all giving of our individual flames to collect a flame that's burning so bright that it'll keep the whole entire city warm. For those that are watching online, this flame, this warmth that you're feeling is for you too. And so in this space, we continue to affirm healing. We continue to affirm prosperity. We continue to affirm and we speak life. We speak health. We speak wealth. We speak togetherness in the name and in the nature of all that is good and all that is holy and all that is sacred. Say with me, and so it is. Meditation and contemplation is so powerful because it sets the groundwork. Paul Tillich says that God is the ground of being. Say this affirmation with me. God is the ground of being. And it sounds complicated when you try to wrap your mind around it, but if you look at it like this, if God simply is, meaning exists, then all I have to do is simply wake up, move into life, breathe. Then all that God is matters and manifests through my very being. Say that again. There is nothing extra that you have to do, because if God is life itself, then yours to do is to simply breathe. And that right there is enough. You've already won simply by breathing. Your presence is enough. Your breath is enough. You blinking, digesting, you making a decision on 5 days of work, 1 day of rest, 1 day left to come together in a house of worship. That is a sacrifice. Somebody say, especially if you're still working full time. So I'm going to put a push pin here before I get too much ahead of myself and greet those that are watching online. Welcome back. You're tuning in to Unity of Birmingham Live. We want to send you a special blessing on this morning, if you will. Point your hand toward the camera. Say this with me. Divine love, in us, blesses and multiplies all that you have, all that you are, all that you receive. Know in this moment you are loved and you are safe. Our ministry is supported by partners like you. To make your gift, log on to unitybham.org and click on giving. Now, one of the reasons why we often say you are loved and you are safe is because the feeling of safety is super important. In fact, it's hard to get into the zone and the feeling and the frequency that we call divine intelligence, the presence of God, unless you're safe. And to do it in a corporate environment requires even more the feeling of safety. But that safetiness is a part of not just a basic need that we have, but it's a part of our spiritual practice too. Say this with me, salvation. Salvation in Greek, the theological study of it is soteriology. And the core of that word is safety. And so Jesus didn't come to save us from God, but Jesus came to teach us a new way of being safe in our bodies and being safe on the earth, and to remind us that the thing that we are seeking, we already are. So I don't need an individual to protect me from God. Mine's to do is to discover that I already am safe. Meaning, I don't need to carry anything with me. I don't need anything extra added to my person or my being. I simply need to remind myself that that which I am seeking, I already am. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? That right there is powerful, meaning if God, divine intelligence, divine love be for you, who can be against you? So in this moment, on this day, if you're watching online on this week, who you scared of? God is on your side. You may have 10,000 that arise against you. The psalmist said, 10,000 at my right hand, but no evil shall come near my dwelling. Ooh, say that with me. No evil shall come near my dwelling. You know what evil really is? It's the inverse of the principle of life. EVIL is LIVE spelled backwards. So anyone that's asleep, or anyone that is asleep to their potential, that's asleep to their promise, that's asleep to the divine intelligence, they can't even hurt you on accident. You know how we stumble in the dark and accidentally knock things over? Even that stuff doesn't really affect you. You know why? Because who you are is hid in Christ. It's hid in the Christ awareness. You are more than just your physical body. Jesus said, destroy this body and in 3 days I'll raise it up. You can say 3 is past, present, and future. You can say 3 is Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Father. Whatever symbolism you want to apply to the number 3. What it means is that the core of who you are is beyond what can be seen. So it does not matter what happens to the physical body. You are still protected. Do you know how powerful that is? You are still safe. You are safe from diagnoses. You are safe from labels. You are safe from people's opinions, and you are safe from the negative voice that speaks ill inside of your own mind. You know why? Because it is not the truth of who you are. The truth of who I am is I am. And then I decide what I want to add to that. So whatever is being added, if you're listening under the sound of my voice to your I am and it doesn't agree with the core of who you are, deny it in this moment. Whatever you are hearing, whatever opinion that you are hearing, that's not in alignment with the core of who you are, if it does not align with I am, deny it. And you only affirm the truth of who you are. What is that truth? That truth exists beyond the facts, and that truth is that you are God. Yes. At your core. Meaning, anything that shows up in your world that does not look like that, if it's not divine, if it's not love, if it's not beauty, then it's not you. Right. So you don't accept it. Opinions are good. They're like body parts. Everybody got them. So we can agree to disagree, and that's fine. But do you not understand? No weapon, nothing maliciously created, formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises up in judgment, divine intelligence condemns. You know why? Because divine intelligence unfolds itself into you, and you manifest that intelligence in your life. So you walk around the drama instead of walking in it. That is the power that you possess. So I said all that to say this. You ain't got no worries. You ain't got no real problems. So rejoice in the Lord. Who is the Lord? It's the captain of your soul. It's the consciousness that guides and directs and leads your character. It's the voice that speaks to you in the middle of the night and puts you right to sleep when anxiety tries to act up. It's the feeling that wraps itself around you when you roll over and turn and you don't get that other arm. Something else comforts you. It's the feeling when you're in traffic and a car is swerving in your lane, and then all of a sudden something pushes that car to the side. That's the thing that you are. Watch this. That's not the thing that you worship and see outside of yourself, but that is the core of who you are. And so you can rest in that. Anybody feel good? Anybody feel rested? So this month, as we focus on our monthly theme, today's topic is breathe. Say this with me. Breathe. Breathe. Breathing is the most ancient and the easiest spiritual practice that we can do, because what it does is it regulates our autonomic nervous system. It helps us to calm down. And anytime you're upset, if you place one hand on your belly, another hand on your chest, representing divine love and divine strength from the powers, they call these two the sons of thunder. They're the power centers. When you're nervous, you feel your gut doing its thing. You feel your heart speed up. In fact, if you're a child psychotherapist and it's a safe environment, they oftentimes teach you, if you're working with children, to either have them, if they're upset, you get down on one knee, get on that level, and if you can, place your hand on their chest or their shoulder, and it helps them to calm down. But as adults, that practice actually works for us as well. And so divine intelligence actually works best through us when we are calm. Because I don't know about you, but I do know how to work and maneuver when tension is high, when you're in that clutch and you got to make a decision. Y'all remember that feeling? Some of y'all had that feeling this week. It's like, oh my God, I got to make a decision. And you feel your mind thumping, thump, thump, thump. Not just your heart, but your brain and brain juice oozing out your ears. Anybody earwaxy right now? Brain juice just oozing out. But when you can breathe and get calm, Viktor Frankl calls it separating stimulus from response. Consciousness kicks in. Your higher mind kicks in. Your higher reasoning kicks in. You know, they tell you in corporate America that while you're working and doing your thing and going for promotions, anytime you get a serious question placed upon you, you always ask, can I have 24 hours to think about it? And there's something to that, giving yourself breathing space to be able to do that. And so if you remember anything else from the message on today and from the energy that we've established together through meditation and through prayer, remember to breathe on this week. When information hits your ear, you know, there are 9 gates in the human body, 7 at the top, 2 at the bottom. This is why we call this the Godhead, because 7 is a sacred number. But when one of those gates gets stimulated, and it ain't Jesus entering into the gate trying to get Jerusalem, when it's information going through your ear gate trying to destabilize your body and destabilize your mind, remember to breathe. When you get bad news, remember to breathe, because all things work together for the good. Say this with me. All things work together for the good. When you see things that seem to be opposite of the vision that you know you have for yourself, for your life, and for your family, remember to breathe. You know why? Because we don't just see with the eyes, we see through them. Wonderful poem by Emerson. I believe it goes a little like this. We are often led to believe a lie when we see with and not through the eye, that which was born in the night to perish in the night, while the soul sleeps in beams of light. What it means is the core of who you are is resting, even though the outer layers of your entire self system, meaning your body, the conscious part of your mind, while all of that is taking information in and all of your senses are being rattled, there's a part of you that knows everything is going to be all right. You know, the entire biblical text is about you. Last week I introduced this, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before. This is an old metaphysical teaching. This is why the Noah built the ark. Say this with me. Noah built the ark. Noah is the knower inside of you. your mind and your body is the ark. The ark, the boat, the ark of the covenant. You're talking about a container. And so you are that which you are conscious of. Here's the power of Noah. Noah invited all the animals into the ark, and he was still able to sustain himself. He was still able to sustain his life. Here's the wonderful thing about breathing. You can breathe your way through anything. Doesn't matter the animal that's galloping around in your mind. It can be a horse, and you know it's a horse because your adrenaline is on fire. It can be a lion because you're fierce and you're mad and you're angry. That can be destabilized. It can be a cat. It can be a dog and it's barking and hollering and your brain is all over the place. Spikes here, spikes there. But in spite of all of that, Noah was still able to contain all of those animals, those animalistic feelings, those animalistic tendencies, the movement of the amygdala, all of that stuff, hormones, neurohormones, all of that stuff going on inside of the body. And they were still able to make it to their destination. So you can breathe your way through anything, because here's the wonderful thing about spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is not an insurance policy against life. Say this with me. Life happens. So as long as you have techniques and tools, we call these spiritual technologies to allow you to navigate through life, you pay your dues just like the rest of us, so that you can sit down with Brother Bruce and be like, hey, I know what you're dealing with. I know what you're going through. You know why? Because I'm not that spiritual to say that I never went through that. I went through it too. And this, my friends, is how you were able to go out into the world and do likewise. Say this with me. Discipleship. We don't use the word discipleship in unity theology because of the negative connotation that it's been assigned. There's a lot of marketing and advertising and consumerism and pestering people associated with it. But when you break that word down, the word discipleship, the key to that word is discipline. It's where small groups come out of. And so your discipline is your application of your spiritual tools and technologies to your own life, to the degree that someone else sees you and be like, I like that shirt. Where you get it from? And you're like, come here, I'll show you. And that is what each of you are called to do, myself included. We do the thing that we need most. Say this with me. We do the thing that we need most. It's not by happenstance that you tune in online. It's not by happenstance that you're attracted to spiritual technologies and to this spiritual information. There's something deep down on the inside of you that is being healed every time you tune in, every time you engage in spiritual practice, every time you pull up on that driveway, and every time you assemble yourself together. But guess what? It's not just about your own healing, because believe it or not, when you do these simple things and apply this discipline to your life, it can be uncomfortable at times because discipline is not fun. Who remembers castor oil? Come here, baby. You can't go to the bathroom. Here, take this. Mama make you feel better. It's like, oh my God, what in the world is this? You might as well give them WD-40 because it tastes the same. Loosening everything up too. But your adherence to your practice is actually the thing that liberates you, and it also liberates other people, because you are a city. Say this affirmation with me. I am a city set on a hill that cannot be hid. But the real question is, who pays the light bill? Life does. So all you got to do is stick your key in the door, open the door, and say, I'm available and I'm ready for business. That is all there is that is required of you to do. Open the door. Say this with me. Open the door. Open the door. I want to move a little bit deeper to the message regarding locked doors. And I'll point your attention to today. Today is the 8th day after Easter, correct? In the Orthodox Church, today is actually called the Day of Divine Mercy. And any of you that are Catholic and Episcopal, you might know about this day. It's a very sacred day. It's also the day that they celebrate the Apostle Thomas. Now, Thomas is an interesting individual. When you take a look at the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, there's another gospel that people tend to skip over, John, because it's so mystical. All of Jesus' magical superpowers are demonstrated in this book. And scholars and theologians are like, we don't need all that stuff. Jesus was so dope that even without the magic, he's still all right. I'll still follow him. And that's cool, but I like a little bit of magic here and there myself. This is a person. And so in the latter part of the book of John, the 20th chapter, I believe, the Apostle Thomas is there with the other disciples and they're having a conversation. This is after Jesus had been assassinated. And I said assassinated on purpose. We'll talk about that in another class. And so they're having a conversation, but they're behind a locked door. And then the presence of the Christ, and I say the Christ because Jesus lived a life so powerful and so in tune with the God principle that was within him. Jesus, the Christ, became the Christed Jesus, because this is what these gifts do to you. You go through your human personality, you practice your principles, and then the Christ presence that is both in you, with you, as you, anoints you. Instead of Julie, the Christ, Christ becomes Julie. God becomes man so that man might become God. And that is the core of all of this information. But I digress. Get back to the message. So they're sitting there and the doors are locked. And then the presence of God walks through the doors. Everybody take another deep breath. You know, it's easy to breathe when things are okay, but it's hard to breathe when it comes to those locked doors. Yeah. And you know, those locked doors, those are the things that you don't want to talk about. The things that you feel that you shut down on or in and you compartmentalize and push to the side. But I want to invite you this week to hear this story. Allow it to come to your mind again and again, because the very thing that you are pressing down and suppressing, believe it or not, is the key to your liberation. And all you got to do, you ain't got to let people in, but you let God in. You let the presence in. You allow your mind to move into that situation and you speak the principles. You say you are forgiven. You say it's okay. You say I am prosperous. You say I am healed. And this is what they did. And now the Apostle Thomas is having a conversation behind a locked door with Jesus, because he's like, this ain't the real Jesus. He was like, I won't believe it until I see his scars, see his wounds, stick my finger in his side. I mean, he just wanted to do it all. It's like, good God, dude. Right? And we call him Doubting Thomas. But here's an interesting fact about Thomas. Thomas is speaking from a very personal place for a reason, because he was entitled to. Say this with me, to my own self. Be true. If I'm going to speak the truth to anybody, I'm going to definitely do it to myself. But when you speak the truth to yourself, I invite you on this week to breathe into those spaces. So those spaces in your life that won't grow, you breathe into them and be gentle with yourself. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You be kind to yourself, because believe it or not, you heal those spaces in your life, or at least have a conversation and start the process of inviting life in. You are in a bad situation now. You don't want to be friends with nobody. Am I in the house yet? You're in a bad economic circumstance now. You don't want to sign no more business deals. I don't want to invest in the market no more. I don't want to invest in friendship no more. I don't want to buy a new car because I had a bad experience. But when you breathe life into all of those spaces and places, y'all, resurrection, true resurrection happens. But not just resurrection of the same old thing. Regeneration happens because you become a new person. When you say yes to things you used to say no to, and if saying yes is too much, you start saying maybe, I'll look into it, I'll think about it. Say this with me, open the door. And for some of you, you just got to crack it, let some air in, because it's starting to stink. And you know what I'm talking about. We can get cantankerous. You know why? Because people have disappointed us. This is why I'm so mean, because every time I give somebody a chance, they always screw it up. So I got to do it all by myself, because if I don't do it, it ain't gonna get done. Thank you. Y'all know what it is. And in community, we might be okay, but when you put the keys into your 11 Tree Drive, wherever it is you live in Birmingham, and you open that door, some of us turn into dictators and monsters, and Hitler ain't got nothing on us. We keep the door open. Boom! That room better be clean. Boom! That kitchen better be clean. Why you ain't changed the toilet paper out? Why would you leave just the brown roll on the roll? Y'all know how we do. But when you make a commitment to just let some air in and to allow those spaces and places to breathe, and you be calm. Sharon Salzberg, the wonderful a Buddhist teacher says that she calls it meditation, where we practice loving kindness and we smile on those parts of ourselves that are hidden from the public, and we smile on the people that have caused us harm. And by smiling, sometimes it means, you know what, I can't say anything nice. I'm just going to wish you well, because if I wish you well, you will get on out of my life. Some of the things that irritate us and some of the people that irritate us, they're only doing it because nothing in their life is working out. So if you want to get rid of an enemy, wish them well, because if they're happy, that means they're not going to be bothering you because they're no longer in misery. Say this with me. You got to practice the principles. This is how we live the truth that we know. So wrapping up, get back to the Apostle Thomas. So he's having this intimate conversation. Here's why. Theologically speaking, he's having this conversation. Say this with me, Thomas. Thomas or Thomas is called Thomas Didymus, or Jew Thomas or Thomas Jew. Didymus in Syriac or in Aramaic means the twin. Who was he the twin of? In the 3rd century, this is the 1st century we're having this conversation. 3rd century, there were teachings and books and ideas that started to circulate in the church. And by church, I mean the church in the West and in the East, that Thomas wasn't just any old twin. He was the twin brother of Jesus himself. And so, who can talk to you like that but your family? Well, I don't believe it. Let me see. I want to see that scar because I know they got a mole over there. That's how I know that's him. I want to see that because they broke their ankle. I remember that. I remember this. I remember that. I want to see it all. Nobody else in that room said anything. And this is why, scholastically and theologically, it's probable that Thomas was actually the twin. But you got to think about it like this. So Jesus being born, if they were identical twins, Jesus being celebrated, but you don't hear nothing in the Gospels about Thomas. So imagine being in a sibling household where you have the perfect sibling and everybody skips over you. So Jesus gets talked about. Jesus gets celebrated. But we don't hear about Thomas until Thomas has that conversation where he doubts the experiences of Jesus the Christ. Some of y'all know exactly what that's like because you were that child. Everybody celebrated the other brother because he was taller. Everybody celebrated the other sister because she was pretty. Everybody celebrated the other cousin because he played basketball, because he played football. And you were this quiet, introverted, I want to read my books, give me my fiction, let me stay in my room. You were so quiet that they probably forgot they even had you. Who was left in the store before? It's like, oh my God, that baby is so quiet. They just left you right there in the middle of Marshall. Walked right out, got in the car, and drove off. Happens all the time, believe it or not. And so Thomas has a question for Jesus. He's like, I want to see all this stuff. And he does. And Jesus says, Thomas, blessed are you that you seen and you believe. How blessed is, or can you pray for those who have not yet seen and still kind of have to believe? And of course, that looks bad. We call him Doubting Thomas. But just sit for a moment on the notion of Thomas being the twin of Jesus. And when we look throughout history, twins are really important. All throughout history, Greek mythology, twins are celebrated. Everybody remember Hercules? Hercules had a twin brother named Achilles. James and John, we talk about those kind of names. But look at Esau and Jacob. They were twins. And even today, when you have twins in your family, they're kind of this oddity. They were odd in the ancient world. And so Thomas, representing doubt in the story, Jesus representing faith, because what balances doubt out with faith? But say this with me, negation. Here's the wonderful thing about truth teachings. Everywhere you go, there you are. Even if this is the thing that's coming up for you and you're dealing with doubt, you're dealing with unbelief, because the one person who has to buy in to your life is you. If nobody else buys in, it's you. But if you are in a moment of doubt, I want you to do something crazy. I want you to ride that thing until you walk right into the truth. Because here's the thing. The reason why we deal with things for so long is because we touch it and we go to it and we deal with it a little bit and we step back and we touch it and we talk about it and deal with it a little bit. But sometimes, especially when you're ready for that process to be over, you dive in head first and you go ahead and do the work. Meaning if I need therapy, I'll go ahead and get all the way into therapy. I'm not going to quit this time. If I need to have that conversation, we have that full conversation instead of me dancing around and running away. Say this with me. Sometimes you got to get it over with. And out of the way. But remember to breathe. And so faith and doubt seem like polar opposites, but through the process of negation, you can actually ride doubt directly to faith. Because what doubt does, it allows you to eliminate things that aren't factual. So once you kick away all the opinions, once you kick away all the noise, I don't believe that, I don't believe that, I don't believe that, through the power of investigation, then you were able to reach the truth, which is what Thomas did. And through all of that doubting, I don't believe that that's him. I need to see this. I need to see that. I need to see this. I need to see that. When he finally saw it, he said, my God. And this is what happens to us when we actually apply these principles. They lead you directly to truth. And here's the truth. This truth doesn't exist outside of you. This truth is always with you. And it's patient enough for you to ask it a question. It's patient enough for you to poke at it and investigate. Meaning that there are things in our lives that we need to poke at. Big old elephants in the room and everybody can see it but us. Say this with me. Poke at it. Or at least do it in your mind. Play with the idea. What if I do this? Or at least apply that thought experiment and see what happens. Because here's the thing. It's not going to go away till you at least think about it. Am I in the house yet? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'll keep it moving. And so, doubt and faith have a conversation. But here's the thing. I want to redeem Thomas. In the 3rd century, there's another conversation. It's another text. And please join our Gnostic Gospel series when they do come back around and we explore the Gospel of Thomas. There's another text that arises in the 3rd century and in the 5th century. And one of the Orthodox fathers gets a hold of some information and starts to writing. And it revolutionizes apocryphal literature. And so he writes that perhaps Thomas was indeed the twin brother of Jesus. And there's also another story I want the church world to know about at large. And the story it's the story of Mary's ascension. Because Thomas looks like in the book of John that he's just doubting the ministry of Jesus and he's this huge problem. But then the story goes in the apocryphal literature. Some years later, Mary is either 50 or 60 and she dies. She's buried and she's in a tomb. If you're Catholic, you might have heard this story before. All the other disciples are gathered around her, but Thomas isn't there because Thomas's ministry is now leading him to the east. He goes to the Orient and he goes to India, which is why we have the Martoma Church. These are the individuals who see Thomas as their great way shower, even though they do acknowledge that Jesus is the Christ and he discovered his Christhood and all those wonderful things. Instead of their church being based on Peter like we have in the West with the Catholic Church, Thomas is their founder, which is why we talk about the Martoma Church now. So the writer goes on. Thomas is in India. Everybody sees Mary. She dies. She's buried, placed in a tomb. And Thomas hears about it some kind of way. And mystically and magically, he's transported to the tomb after everyone leaves. And by the time he gets there, the stone is rolled away and Mary is not there. Say this with me. The divine feminine.
Divine feminine.
And so Mary is no longer there. He looks around, can't find her, and then he looks up and she ascends to heaven. Now remember, all of this stuff is occurring in consciousness because he was in India, so all of this stuff is happening in his mind. And then he has a conversation with her, and she drops something on him. And it's a belt. It's a girdle. And even to this day, there are stories and legends about that girdle that belonged to Mary, and there are shrines dedicated to it. What does that have to do with breathing? Believe it or not, some of y'all got to take your belts off. No, please don't literally take your belt off. And I thought it was hilarious when I was doing the research. I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking about breathing. And the first thing she drops on him is a belt and her girdle. In order for her to ascend, she had to take her girdle off because it was holding her down. Y'all catch that? Metaphysically, metaphorically. In order for her to move to the next phase of her own evolution and breathe better, she had to take off the thing that was binding her. And here's the thing. She didn't do it in public. All the other 10 or 11 disciples didn't see it. Thomas was the only one who saw it. Meaning that there's some conversations you have to have in private. Say this with me. There's a fee to get into this one. Some conversations you can only have with a trusted friend, a trusted confidant, someone who won't take your business and run it down the street. Who am I talking to today? I guess I'm talking to myself. And so Thomas is there to witness this seemingly miracle in the story and in the text. And then Thomas is even more inspired, and he is able to help establish one of the largest spiritual movements in the East next to Buddhism and Hinduism, because he was able to question and investigate and breathe. And sometimes ask the hard question. And also be vulnerable, because it takes vulnerability to breathe. It takes vulnerability to admit when you got too much on your plate and you need to take a step back. It takes vulnerability for you to say, I want to do more. It takes vulnerability for you to say, I need help. One last thing, take another big deep breath. So as we bring all of this information to a close, I want to remind you today that you heard about Thomas and his inquisitive nature. You heard about your need to breathe through things. You heard about your need to loosen up and take off your belts. You heard about your need to ask the tough questions and to be kind and to smile on yourself. I want to invite you this week to practice these things, to pick one of those major things that you heard from this message and really apply it to your life. And when you do so, like Mary, you will rise. You will rise. Thank you for listening. Peace and blessings. Offering time. This is how we rise. We raise consciousness and then money is raised. Reverend Ike used to say, get full of the feeling. People are chasing fulfillment. You get full of the feeling. And LaDonna's going to lead us into some good feeling.
And my group is going to lead you all into breathing into this song and joining us.
Bless this offering. uplifting in this ministry. We bless the givers, knowing that God loves a cheerful giver. We affirm this will return to them. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall life fill their pockets. And so it is. Amen. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Jesse, for the prayer. All right, for some announcements. First off, LaDonna is bringing together individuals, as you can see, and looking for more people that would like to sing as a group. So just see LaDonna afterwards if you're interested in joining. Reverend Jesse is launching a spiritual writers club and looking for writers, authors, poets, and artists to increase our digital outreach. So please see him with your submissions. And our next spiritual enrichment class is based on Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. It's set for April 30th. Just see Reverend Jesse or Lily to sign up if you're not, and you can get your book. Also, just check the bulletin boards and weekly newsletters for classes for later in the year. I'm just going to, when I do the announcements, I'm become the president of the board somehow. Not quite sure, but anyhow, that's where I'm at. And so I just thought that when I do the announcements, I just kind of update you a little bit with some of the things that are going on. Just you may have noticed the swing set got moved. It was out in the front. We've got it moved up the top there. Getting ready for the sign, or we're having a new sign made out in the front. And it's coming along. Things take a lot of time sometimes with the neighborhood associations getting their approval and all that. So, but that is something that they're working on. Several things that we wanted to do is try to figure out ways to get more involved with the community, and just we did something years ago called Unity in the Park. We did a festival across the street. And people have talked to us about doing that. So if anybody has ideas, things that you want to do or curious about, we'll need volunteers for anything that we end up doing, because that Unity in Park was a major undertaking, but it was very successful. But we want to figure out ways to make our presence in the community a little bit more. So this Wednesday, Diane, Aleem, and I are going down with a group, Faith in Action, down to Montgomery. So we're just trying to get out there. One of the things that I'm looking into is getting T-shirts made. Used to have Unity T-shirts. Get those made so that we do go out, we'll have T-shirts to wear so people can see where we're from. But like I said, anybody that has any ideas, please just get with me. And then I'm excited. Somebody mentioned that they wanted bingo. I know nothing about bingo, but I'm learning rapidly that people love bingo. Okay, so May 4th, every other Thursday now, downstairs we're going to do a bingo night, and we'll have this. I'll put it out there. We'll have a newsletter and have flyers and all that. But I really had no idea that I've mentioned it to people, and they are so excited. So I think it's a great way to get people. I mean, my wife is already told. She works at the elementary school in Homewood. She's already got half a dozen people that are ready to come. So it'll be a great way to get people that aren't familiar with Unity, and it's not. They don't have to come to the service, but they'll come down. And I guarantee you that within a matter of weeks, months, some of those people that are downstairs in bingo are going to come to a Sunday service, So I'm kind of excited about that, but it'll be Thursday. George has been so kind, and he's helping volunteer also on that. But we will need volunteers, so if you ever have an interest, please, we'd love your help. So I think that is about it for me, but I'm just going to try to keep everybody updated a little bit. But please see me if you have any suggestions or ideas. I'd love to hear it. So now, our song, Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Peace that was better to light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is.
Wherever I am, God is.
All is well. Thank you.